Okay, next up, boy, this is going to be a good one too. And this is one that both these teams were wild cards might be too hard, but maybe it's not coming into the season for different reasons. And I think right now, both teams' fan bases are pretty fired up about the way their teams played in week one. This game, of course, would be Texas A&M going to Miami. That is at 2:30 Central on Saturday. The over-under on this one, 49. The line is A&M by 6.5. That makes for a predicted final of A&M 28, Miami 21. The the computers, here's what they say. ESPN's FPI. Boy, these are all over the board. FPI has got Miami favored by a point with the home field advantage. SP Plus has got A&M favored by 2 points with the home field disadvantage. And Jeff Sagarin has got A&M favored by 4 on the road. So you got 4 entities here, 3 computers and the humans. The humans have A&M favored by the most, and you've got FPI, which has got Miami favored outright. So this is kind of interesting out front. A&M, I think, looked great in its opener against New Mexico. Just got rave reviews from everybody I heard talk about the game. Full disclosure, I wasn't able to watch that. There were 14 SEC games at once, and somebody's got to get neglected in that one. And in this case, for me, it was A&M. But
I watched it.
Miami played Miami of Ohio and won that one. Was it 38-3?
Yeah, that was
for a
impressive.
defense that could stop UNI last year. So there's that.
Yeah, but Miami of Ohio is traditionally a tough team. Like they play a good brand of football, and I think many people thought, oh, is Miami going to come out and really step on their neck like they should in that type of game, because that hasn't always been the case for Miami. I mean, look what happened with Middle Tennessee State last year. Other games that they kind of played vastly down below the standard of what Mario Cristobal has for that program and to the athleticism that they have on that team. So I think that was encouraging for Miami. I call this one the Desperation Bowl, Chris, and I've called it that for a few months going back. Both of these teams desperately need this game for the aspirations and the direction of their program. You have a Mario Cristobal led team that has done some moving and shaking of things and in recruiting and things of that nature, big NIL spenders, things of that nature. Texas A&M, they did that a couple years ago. Now they've been trying to weed out some of the bad apples that got brought in through the process of that, and seem to have much of a more unified roster, I guess you would say. They've got the fruits of that starting to come to fruition with their defensive front, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure. And Connor Wegman is tremendous at this point. I think he's, listen, I had him really high. I had him ranked, I believe, in the top 5 of my quarterbacks in the SEC coming in to the year, and I think he could be even in the upper echelon of that top 5 by the time all's said and done. So we'll talk about the specifics of it, but I'm super excited for this matchup down in what is it? Gables,
Coral Gables.
Coral Gables, yeah, where the stadium is. So
I think that's where the baseball one is. I can't remember if the football one's in the same place or not. I've been to Miami, but never to that campus. But in any case, okay, when A&M's got the ball last week, A&M averaged 7 yards of passing play. It averaged 5.9 a rushing play. Now, where Connor Wegman was in there, but passing numbers were different. He was 18-23 for 236, 5 touchdowns. That's very efficient passing. We know about Evan Stewart. Noah Thomas was a guy that opened a lot of eyes. They returned some guys on the offensive line. We talked about the running game. Reuben Owens was kind of my breakout guy, one of the highest rated running backs in this freshman class of college football. He didn't really do a lot last week. He was 7 for 25. Maybe he takes on a bigger role. A&M had a multifaceted rushing game last week, and nobody really stood out. So Miami last week gave up 3 yards per running play, 5.5 per passing play. Neither team, A&M didn't turn it over, and Miami didn't commit a turnover for whatever that's worth, or didn't force a turnover. How do you see this playing out when A&M's got the ball?
Yeah, so I think Connor Wegman is tremendous. What he didn't show off in this game, he did a little bit, 3 carries for 22 yards, are his legs. He is a much, much more gifted athlete than people give credit for. Okay. He can move. I think you're going to see Bobby Petrino be willing to run some quarterback power, things of that nature with him, some power read. But man, when you talk about the vertical passing game, his ability to give Noah Thomas and Moose Muhammad, who are his 2 bigger bodied receivers, chances to win 50-50 balls, to go up and make plays, especially Noah Thomas, a younger guy that comes in there 6'4", 200 pounds, 3 touchdowns, a breakout performance for him. We know what Evan Stewart is. He might be the most underrated number 1 receiver in the entire league. And then you talk about Anais Smith, who is he's a Mr. Utility knife, Swiss Army knife type guy. They can line him up in the backfield. He had, 49 carries a couple years ago as a running back for them, had only 11 last year. But he can be used in the backfield to take some of that running back burden for some of those more unexperienced guys. Also, he can be dynamic in the slot. He's a punt return, kick return type guy. I think you're going to see Anais Smith play a big role in this game. But I'm just telling you, I think look for Connor Wegman's legs to make some key first downs for Texas A&M in this game. The offensive line looked a whole lot more aggressive, had a little bit more of an edge to them than they did last year. They played a little bit more like they did in that LSU game than they did, most other points in the season in this past game against New Mexico. So I think you're going to see Bobby Petrino. Really, he's got these option routes, okay, that are built in. Whatever you give them, they're going to take the opposite of it. And I think you're going to see Miami try to be aggressive early, and you're going to see Connor Wegman get opportunities to hit shots down the field. Can they execute on a couple of those early? If they do, you may see Miami go in the tank defensively early on, because that is not a team. I think the self-belief is a little fragile over there. And I think Texas actually has a little bit more of it right now with Bobby Petrino coming on board. I really, really like that offensive unit and what they got going on.
Okay, when Miami's got the ball, last week it was pretty good. Averaged 7.2 yards per rushing play, 9.3 per passing play, turned it over on 1.6% of snaps. A&M forced turnovers on 1.7% of snaps, gave up 3.5 yards per rushing play, 3.9 per passing play. Now, look, A&M's defense, seeing it do that against New Mexico, no surprise. But A&M couldn't really stop the run against much of anybody a year ago. No, look, this defensive line has got worlds of talent. So if A&M took a big jump up in the rush defense department, I wouldn't be surprised. Feels like this is a situation where the Aggies are going to get tested there.
Yeah, I mean, Henry Parrish is a guy that we've seen in the SEC before, a transfer from Ole Miss at one point in his career, and now he had a nice game for Miami in Week 1 against Miami of Ohio. He's a tough runner, a slashing type runner, and Tyler Van Dyke is a guy that, listen, a couple years ago, people were talking about him being, future first round pick, all that kind of stuff, because he had such a big arm and things of that nature, and was slicing people up. Had a little bit of a step back at times last year, but he's a talented guy. And oh, by the way, you talk about SEC faces. Their left guard is Javion Cohen, who started every game for Alabama last year, so he has played against Texas A&M before. So there is some experience there and some in SEC play and stuff like that. So a lot of these guys won't be daunted. But the question is, I think Miami, for these two teams, I think Miami has to get off to a fast start offensively, and it's more important for them than it is Texas A&M, because it is a home game. But Chris, that is not a good college football environment.
No,
it is
awful.
not. And I think what you're going to see, not only could the team go in the tank, I think you could see the fan base, or what fan base is there, go in the tank. If they go 3 and out a couple times and Texas A&M marches down the field and gets a couple scores, I think that environment could go real south real fast. So I think Tyler Van Dyke and company have to start fast over there. And we'll see how they get going. But, they've got some guys. Xavier Restrepo has been around a long time as a receiver, but I don't know if they have anybody. I think Texas A&M's secondary is a real strength for them with Damani Richardson coming back. I really like the leadership over there. I like the defensive front. So, and Tyler Van Dyke is not super mobile. I mean, he can run a little bit, but he's not super mobile. And I think those defensive linemen that came in, a lot of them in that 2022 class for Texas A&M, are going to be really, really salty in this game. And I think it's going to be tough for Miami to get some stuff going offensively early on.
Yeah, this was a weird game last year. Did like a 19-12 final. I'm trying to look it up as we speak. 17-9. I think it's going to be a different type of game. I think A&M is going to put up some more points this year. I've been all over the place on A&M, but I'm really starting to believe. I think A&M wins this game by more than a touchdown.
Yeah, I really do too. What was the spread on this one again? You said the 4.5 is, I think I've seen it. 4.5 favorite.
Vegas,
I've seen.
I think this morning covers.com had it at 6.5. Again, you look at the computers, just people miss the first part of this. ESPN's FP has Miami as a 1-point favorite. SP Plus has got A&M as a 2-point favorite, and Jeff Sagarin has got the Aggies as a 4-point favorite, and that factors in home field advantage. So
I got you. So I think. Yeah, I think you might have a little trouble Wi-Fi wise over there right now, but I think Texas A&M 4.5 to 6.5. That number, I think they cover that. I think Texas A&M is the stronger team, the more complete team. I like them to make a statement on the road. I think Connor Wigman is the trigger man, the guy that Texas A&M needs going forward. And listen, with what LSU showed on their offensive and defensive fronts at times, man, Miami's like Hunter Roberts said, Miami's got a lot of young guys playing. Give me Texas A&M, and I think they win this game. I think they score. I think this offense is a different offense. I think they score probably 31 points in this game, and they win like 31-20 or something along that line. I really like Texas A&M in this one.